Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Starkey Farmstead. So, hi, everybody. My name is Samantha. We're going to jump into this. There are things happening you may not be aware of. So, welcome back to Starkey Farmstead. My name is Sam. Please hit the like button, drop over in comments, tell me who you are, where you are watching from. Folks, we have to talk. Okay, so let's just start by saying there's a no king protest scheduled for June 14th to pop off in America. Guys, this is not okay. It's not right. It's not good in any way, shape, or form for our country. We should all be very, very concerned. On top of the June 14th No King protest that is being funded by Walmart. If you didn't see my earlier video, the Walmart billionaire herself is taking ads out in the New York Times, on the internet, promoting No King's protest. Earlier, I talked to you about the different nonprofits backing this organization, ACLU. American Humanist Association, American Postal Workers Union, Americans for Financial Reform, Tax Fairness, Americans United for Separation of Church and State, Bend the Arc, Jewish Action, Bernie Sanders, Black Voters Matter, Center for Common Ground, Catholics Vote Common Good, Center for Biological Diversity, Center for Science and the Public Interest, Chicago Women Take Action, Climate Defenders, Common Cause Illinois, Common Defense, Community Change, Court Accountability, Cross Union Retirees Organizing Committee, CCAG, the Connecticut Citizen Action Group, Debt Collective, Declaration for American Democracy, Fair Share America, Families for Billionaires, Federal Unionist Network, Federal Workers Against Doge, Face the Music, Fix Democracy First, National Organization for Women Florida, Force Multiplier, You, Me, Democracy. These are all the NGOs and nonprofits that are funding and rowing in Walmart's boat to get this No King protest across America. So as you pop on, hit the like button, drop in comments, tell me who you are, where you watching from, because I'm fixing to blow your mind, folks. We also know that liberal lunatics are threatening us with a Juneteenth protest across America. I did a video on that weeks ago, warning you guys. Now, last night I talked to you about something called the color revolution. Now, this is going to be a little long, and some of you are not going to be interested, but when I tell you you need to hear this, I'm not joking. And then we're going to get into what's going on with the riots, okay, that's happening across the United States. But this tells you what and why it's happening. There's something called a color revolution. The United States government, the CIA, has funded regime changes across the world, but they have 5 distinct things that they do every time they're going to take over a country or they're going to change the way that country functions. Listen to me. What we're seeing is a revolution in the streets. It's not a riot. It's not a protest. I wouldn't even call it an insurrection. I would call it a revolution of communists, of undocumented illegal aliens across the nation that want to destroy what you and I love so dearly. And I'm going to show you. Yeah, it's 7 minutes long, and I'll try to speed it up. But guys, please listen to this, because this is what's happening in America. And the deep state, the hidden government, the shadow government, it's what's causing what's going on in the streets, and this is their playbook.
Trade restrictions, full embargoes, and powerful Western-controlled international financial institutions aimed at creating hardship in the nation targeted. For example, in Nicaragua, the U.S. exerted pressure on the IMF, World Bank, and Inter-American Development Bank to withhold loans from the Sandinista government, while simultaneously destroying critical infrastructure through covert operations like the CIA bombing of a major fuel depot in Nicaragua's port of Corinto. Similarly, in Chile, during Salvador Allende's short presidency, the U.S. cut off economic assistance and encouraged American corporations to deny Chile essential goods, such as replacement parts for buses, taxis, and production machinery, which greatly affected the critical Chilean copper, steel, and oil industries. The chokehold the U.S. had on Chile led to shortages of basic necessities like flour, cooking oil, soap, and toilet paper. There were even shortages of bed sheets and cigarettes. All this economic deprivation had its intended effect of fueling public dissatisfaction. In Grenada, economic sanctions were used to punish the government and lay the groundwork for more direct intervention. Behind closed doors, regional leaders, under U.S. influence of course, were persuaded to request American military intervention, paving the way for regime change. Next, and arguably the second most potent weapon after military force, is propaganda. Control over the media narrative is crucial to pulling off a regime change successfully. The U.S. does this in two ways. The first is simply amplifying opposition narratives and figures, whether real or imagined, while simultaneously framing targeted governments as authoritarian, corrupt, or oppressive. This propaganda campaign is often orchestrated through extensive CIA-backed media operations, like Voice of America. For example, in Chile, the CIA funneled millions into anti-communist propaganda campaigns during Eduardo Frei's presidential run that used scare tactics, fabricated stories, and disinformation to discredit Allende and Chile's socialist movement. The second method the U.S. uses involves directly inserting their media into mainstream outlets. The best example of this involves the United Fruit Company. During their campaign against Guatemala's reformist government, they employed the father of modern advertising, Edward Bernays, to direct a massive propaganda effort that involved placing articles in prominent newspapers like the New York Times, depicting Guatemala as an oppressive Marxist dictatorship. This infamous campaign influenced both the public policymakers to view fairly conservative land reforms in Guatemala as inherently communist, and therefore evil. These narratives, reinforced by members of Congress, the domestic and international press, manufactured consent to take action against the unwanted government.
Okay, so we're going to just stop it real quick there. Does that not sound like what's happening right now? Think about it. Walmart's billionaire heiress takes out newspaper ads to promote the No King movement, right? You've got Democrats for America, Socialists for America, spreading misinformation left and right. Let me give you an example. Let me find it real quick, you guys. This is what I saw on the People's Movement, LA protest, ICE protest, political revolution hashtag. For the last 3 days, the LA protests have continued. The protests have been peaceful, with unarmed protesters participating in shows of solidarity, marches, even community dances. Trump's response has been to try to quash dissent in the most oppressive way possible. In yet another abuse of executive power, he sent in the National Guard without the support of California's governor, and things have since devolved. Trump wants total control and to mislead people from the real threat of his administration, ripping people from their homes and passing legislation that will remove health care and support from millions of people. Show solidarity for Los Angeles by showing up to a protest in your city this Saturday, June 14th. Refuse to stand for this administration and stand for freedom instead. That's off a Facebook post. Here's another one. Happening now. A rally to protest in Boston, Massachusetts in solidarity with Los Angeles and in solidarity with SIEU, California President David Hurata, I don't know how to say his last name, who was arrested over the weekend in LA. He was arrested for assaulting federal agents. We, the people, are standing up for our neighbors in solidarity in a non-violent manner. But the government continues to escalate and create tension and chaos so they can execute their agenda and justify deploying federal and military forces on American people. Here's another one. Alt National Park Service. We're deeply disappointed in much of the U.S. media. Grateful, however, to international journalists who are telling the truth. Here at home, the media is pushing a false narrative of Los Angeles riots, using images of burning cars and fires that the police started. Why? Because chaos sells, and because they're afraid of losing access to Trump. But this isn't journalism, it's complicity. Yesterday, the LAPD released a statement calling the protest peaceful. They had no reason to do that, except it's true. Meanwhile, the administration is planting instigators and inflaming tensions to justify its own lawless actions. No one, not even Trump, gets to trample the Constitution. This morning, Trump thanked the National Guard for handling protests they weren't even present for. That's how far they'll go to sell the lie. Trump wants this fight, not to keep peace, but to justify using the military against Americans. A textbook authoritarian move. Y'all thought I was joking. Now, let's get back to our video and why it's so important that I show this to you. We've got to be more educated, America. I know it's a lot to sit down and actually listen, but if you don't, you're going to miss the reason why all this is actually happening in your country.
The third step is funding and, let's say, empowering the target nation's opposition groups, no matter what those groups stand for, so long as they submit to the U.S. A good failed recent example is the U.S. handpicked, wildly unpopular Venezuelan opposition politician Juan Guaido, who, despite not winning any legitimate elections, was recognized as president by dozens of U.S.-aligned nations, along with the U.S., as president of Venezuela, over the legitimate government of Venezuela. This farce was finally ended in 2021, when it was clear beyond all doubt that Guaido was an American puppet, afterwards going to exile at the Gusano capital of the world, which is Miami. Sadly, the U.S. is frequently more successful than this. Regardless, these operations are often conducted through organizations like USAID and the National Endowment for Democracy, which provide the necessary resources to anti-government factions. In Chile, the CIA funded a Jesuit priest named Roger Vekemans, who had a network of organizations that funneled revolutionary energy into US-aligned actions. This not only influenced elections, but also fragmented more radical movements that threatened the status quo. Beyond financial aid, opposition groups are often armed and trained to serve as the vanguard of regime change. The CIA equipped exiled Guatemalan opposition leaders with weapons and other military resources to stage a coup against President Jacobo Arbenz. The operation was simple: hire American pilots to bomb Guatemala City, which will spread chaos, confusion, and anger amongst the populace, which the Guatemalan military can use as a pretext to overthrow the government. Step 4. By organizing protest.
Okay, so let's stop right there. Let's talk about it. Miss Rose, I'm sorry about the audio. Okay, so let me ask you guys this. Have you not seen the cartel being arrested for moving ammunition and guns across America? I did a video on it. They're moving it up and down, all the way from Wyoming into Colorado, straight down into Texas. They are pushing for a regime change in this country. Who's backing it? Shadow government, the CIA, the FBI, the ATF, all those that don't want you to be free. The Communist Party that funded USAID, the same people that cried and threw a temper tantrum when Trump stopped all that money going to USAID. Now, do you understand why? Are you starting to understand the same rogue government that's been toppling nations across the world, that CIA, is now applying everything it's learned for the past 80 years right here on American soil? This is a revolution. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. You see this? This is what we the people actually is. It's the United States flag. So when you see it on the streets, when you see mobilized mass protests that are funding things, Jack, I know YouTube disrupts my live streams constantly. There's nothing I can do. Can you guys hear me? If you can, do a hands up for me real quick. All right, Miss Tina says she can hear me. All right. Yes, Michael, it does have seeds, earlier than that. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for letting me know you can hear me. Hi, everybody. I truly love you guys. I know this is a bit long, but I need you to understand that what is happening in America right now is called a color revolution. It is a communist playbook. It has been applied by the shadow government across nations for 80 years by rogue CIA and FBI agents. It is now being applied in the streets of America. They are using Antifa, liberal lunatics, and the undocumented illegal aliens. Yes, please hit the like button so more people know we're doing this.
And demonstrations, the U.S. creates the appearance of widespread popular discontent, also known as astroturfing. These movements are usually funded and guided by covert operatives who then leverage grassroots organizations, international NGOs, and local activists to support U.S. interests. In Nicaragua, the National Endowment for Democracy provided funding to local civic organizations and political coalitions like UNO, which received grants under the guise of promoting pro-democracy initiatives. These resources were then used to orchestrate large-scale demonstrations and paint a picture of nationwide unrest. A failed example of such an event would be the Cuban protests of 2021, which despite significant U.S. efforts at mobilizing everything from U.S.-backed civic groups, quote-unquote, to hip-hop artists, managed to bring an insignificant amount of people into the streets. That did not stop American and other Western online media from knowingly using images from large pro-government demonstrations and portraying them as anti-government. Cheeky. In Bulgaria, U.S. support for student protests offers another example. The NED financed the Federation of Independent Student Associations, which supplied the movement with loudspeakers, printing tools, and video systems to spread their message with a variety of media. Some protests burned communist-era textbooks and flags, which created potent imagery for international media to amplify. The ruse worked, of course. Sympathy abroad generated enough pressure on domestic leaders to see several key resignations within the Bulgarian government. Step 5 is where the use of force becomes the primary tool to effect change. Neutralizing a government security force is absolutely essential for any regime change operation to succeed. In most cases, the US seeks out key military and political figures, either through bribery, threats, or outright assassination. In Chile, the assassination of General René Schneider serves as a chilling example. A constitutionalist, Schneider opposed any attempt to subvert Chile's democratic process to remove Allende. His murder was orchestrated by the CIA.
Okay, so you guys starting to see what I'm talking about? The last step is to reinstall
the sixth and final stage in the regime change, consolidating power under a new regime friendly with the U.S. In Chile, after Allende was overthrown, the U.S. provided intelligence and resources to the new military dictatorship under General Pinochet to make absolutely certain he would align his interests with those of the U.S.
So they call it astroturfing. What you are seeing right now is called astroturfing. That is what these paid protesters are doing. I showed you in a video earlier today that there was actually, listen to this.
He has very good information. I believe the gentleman that owns this channel is actually 107's behind the scenes assistant. 4 days ago, there's a Craigslist ad promising $6,500 to $12,000 a week. And I'll just read you the first couple of lines. Yeah, go ahead. Seeking extremely tough, brave men for a new crew I'm building. Compensation $6,500 to $12,500 per week. We are forming a select team of the toughest dudes in the area. This unit will be activated only when the situation demands it. This was in Craigslist in LA. This is for LA. How many days ago? 4 days ago. I wrote that down. Wow.
4 days ago. All right. Who's giving them the gas mask? Who's providing them the bricks? We got a problem, baby. We have a problem.
Is wild. A mysterious black truck just passed out all of these expensive bionic face shields to protesters in LA, and the news caught it on camera. I zoomed in and found this is the Wth bionic shield. These are not cheap. They're around $45 to $65, and you can't just get them in bulk. But one place that sells them is Walmart. And why is that important? Because there's a new protest being promoted called No Kings on June 14th. And even celebrities like Chrissy Teigen are posting it. It's in magazines and newspapers. And guess who's behind this message? Christy Walton. That's right, one of the billionaire heiresses, a part of the Walmart family. Now, I don't know why they would be behind that protest against President Trump, but remember, just less than 3 weeks ago, President Trump tweeted about the whole tariff situation, saying Walmart should stop trying to blame tariffs as the reason for raising prices throughout the chain. Walmart made billions of dollars of last year, far more than expected. Between Walmart and China, they should, as is said, eat the tariffs and not charge valued customers anything. I'll be watching, and so will your customers. So, is it possible that maybe the Walmart family didn't like that, and now they're finding ways to make their voices heard? Or is this just a big coincidence? As always, let me know what you think about all of this down below.
All right. So, I told you guys, Walmart is now providing the friggin' looters with masks. By the way, YouTube demonetized me. Please consider rowing in our boat. Either sign up for the newsletter, which is $30 one time for 6 months, where you can Zoom with us, where you get a newsletter telling you what is going on, or just send a couple of dollars because you're a great American and you understand what I'm doing is more than important. I'm trying to educate you to let you know what they're doing is really bad. I just dropped our Cash App in the discussion right here. If you'd like to row in our boat, at the end of this, I'll add the way you can get the newsletter. If you do send the $30 for the newsletter, put your email in the memo. Thank you. Okay, so let's keep moving on, guys, because I'm fixing to show you something that's going to blow your flipping mind. You thought what I'd shown you already is bad. No, baby, I keep the best for last. All right. All across the world, they are claiming that America is in the middle of a civil war. Remember, the video I showed you earlier talked about international news putting out a different portrayal of what is actually happening here. Hold on.
It does appear that at the moment, all over the Western world, if you try to deport illegal immigrants, then it kicks off, doesn't it? What's the problem here? How do we solve it?
Well, I mean, I think in the United States especially, but increasingly so here, it's organised far leftist movements that have a non-peaceful agenda. It's, if everybody remembers the whole fiery but peaceful scene of the reporter with the fires behind her.
Yeah.
We're seeing the same thing again. I mean, these are not peaceful protests, these are riots. I think President Trump is absolutely right to send in the army to deal with it, to stop it from breaking out into further chaos, because it's obvious that law enforcement can't keep a handle on it. They were literally smashing up and torching police cars. And here in the UK, I mean, it's the classic line that there should be no taxation without representation. People do not want immigrants coming here. We shouldn't have to be paying our taxes to put them up. And like you said, having it be a bill as large.
Okay, let me find it.
Hotels is now £4.7 billion. That is the equivalent of every penny of taxation retrieved from the entire population of Manchester. So you tax the whole of Manchester just to pay for illegal immigrants. So everyone in Manchester, right, you go to work, you work your backsides off, you don't break the law, you put food on the table for your children, and you are just being clobbered so that we can pay for illegal immigrants to live rent-free with all the bills paid for, free meals. I mean, look, you don't want to pay for them, do you? No. But here's what happens when you try to deport them. I'm here in Peckham where protests...
So he's talking about it's even happening.
We come on the air, an intense escalation tonight over the protests in Los Angeles, now in their fourth day. President Trump ordering military troops to the city to quell the demonstrators. We go straight to Ryan Smith at the live desk as the administration and California, Ryan, continue to clash.
Breaking tonight, tensions now intensifying in the streets of Los Angeles. There, the White House now activating.
Now, listen to this. This comes out of an international news also.
It's happening again. Scenes that look almost like a civil war in America. When Donald Trump was first elected president, you had American cities being torched by rioters, by anarchists and the hard left, and, you know, all encouraged by anti-Democrat or anti-Trump Democrat politicians who were exploiting race resentments after the death of a drug-affected George Floyd. One of them, of course, egging them on was Kamala Harris, you might recall. And here we go again. Trump, this time, got elected, promising to expel 1 million illegal immigrants from the US. And last Friday, Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials raided several locations in Latino areas of Los Angeles, looking for illegal workers, arresting dozens. But mobs quickly gathered to stop them, to assault them. Then the rioting got wilder and more dangerous. Police were attacked. They were even rammed with motorbikes. They were shot at with commercial quality fireworks, potentially lethal, of course. The rioters blocked traffic, of course. They set cars alight. And what I thought was really telling is that many in the crowd that was attacking police and the National Guard waved Mexican flags, like they were some sort of invading foreign army. And they chanted slogans in Spanish. Others wore Palestinian keffiyehs and came.
So I'm just warning you. The international news is broadcasting that we are on the brink of a civil war. They're laying the groundwork for when this happens. And yes, thank you guys for asking. My dogs are on high alert. They have been for the last 2 days. I have 2 of them in the house with me and one of them guarding my front door. And my dogs are absolutely pacing like they can sense the change in the atmosphere. It's what I trained them for. It's what I paid $8,000 to train them for. When I go look, I see nothing. But it doesn't mean there's nothing there. Can I get an amen? That's right. Dogs know. They absolutely know. And my dogs have been trained to be able to determine you are friends, you are not friends. And when my dogs sound off, they are serious. So I just want to let you guys know I do hear them. I am not at all fearful. I feel completely at peace in my spirit. Not to mention there's literally a 2A right here and one sitting on the back side of this computer. And if you're not sure of how well Sam shoots, look at that. Look at that. Right? And my house is covered in anointing oil, so I'm not at all afraid. But guys, if you would like to support us, keeping my dogs healthy is a very expensive thing. Yeah, German Shepherds, right? They have a BS meter like you can't beat. I feed them raw food, and it is expensive. If you'd like to send a few dollars to love on the dogs for a treat, please consider that. Like I said, YouTube stole our money 3 months ago. I was able to reapply for the partnership program 2 weeks ago, and I've heard nothing back. It just keeps saying pending. So I just dropped our Cash App right there in the discussion board. So if you'd like to, row in our boat, please do. Anything you send would be such a blessing, guys. I mean, I don't care if it's just $1. I thank God. I tell Stephen every time somebody sends $5, $1. Thank you, Tiny House. I always tell everybody, I tell my husband every time because we are so blessed. But let me show you what they're not showing you that's actually going on. Okay? Let me find it for you guys because I was doing a tremendous amount of research last night before I went to bed. Let me find it. I got to find it. Hold on. Oh, yeah. Martha's Vineyard has been raided for illegal aliens. Watch this.
So we all agree that
not
this
this one. Watch
is
this.
an ethnic conflict, right? In Los Angeles right now, there are thousands of rioters who have been burning police cars, causing lots of trouble, and waving their Mexican flags and screaming "Viva la Mexico" or whatever it is in Spanish, right? This is just not something that I think you can contend with. And I think that we can accept that whatever integration was meant to look like, it's failed. These people aren't Americans. They are Mexicans, and they are telling you very, very clearly. And there seems to be some deeply thymotic grievance in that, because as you can see from the people who support them, 4,500 retweets, 27,000 likes, that yes, once this area of the southwestern United States belongs to a country or an empire called Mexico. Now, what the administrative capacity of the state was in 1835 over this area governed from here, I mean, I'll leave it to you to think about how dubious the claim was, right? But the point is, America fought wars with Mexico. They conquered this territory. That's how that works. But you see the issue. It's the same as the Muslims posting Al-Andalus. This is about reconquest to them. They are not Americans. They are Mexicans on occupied territory as far as they're concerned. And what's interesting is this also seems to be the opinion of Mexico's president, who said, quote, "If necessary, we'll mobilize." Oh, well, what does that look like? What does it look like when Mexico, quote unquote, mobilizes against the United States? Because Donald Trump put a 3.5% remittance tax on money traveling from America to Mexico, which, if I recall correctly, is somewhere in the region of 64 billion in total. And when you look it up, like if you go to Investopedia or something, they're like, oh yeah, Mexico's doing well for like oil drilling, remittance taxes, silver mining. It's like, well, really, that's the second one, is it? It's that big a chunk of your economy. I mean, 64 billion is not small change, right? And so Trump being like, yeah, I want a 3.5% tax on that. Frankly, I think he's definitely cutting that low. But the point is, this is enough of an impact on their economy for them to, quote unquote, mobilize, again, whatever that means. So the fact that Mexico's economy is so dependent on America and Mexicans in America sending money back to Mexico makes you think, oh, right, okay, so they weren't just coming over to integrate. They weren't just coming over because they wanted the American dream, bro. They're Mexican colonists in the United States. And that's how they see themselves, because look at the way she's framed it. We don't want taxes on remittances from our fellow countrymen. I mean, there's just nothing more to be said. As far as she's concerned, the Mexicans that move legally or illegally from Mexico to the United States are Mexicans first. In fact, they're Mexicans alone as far as she's concerned. They are the Mexican Empire reconstituting itself, as I said in yesterday's video, like with Texas, frankly. And they are not shy on just saying it. I mean, look, this is what one rioter said, burning the American flag in LA. Quote, "My Mexican flag, green, white, and red, that's my flag, not this flag. F this flag. I pledge allegiance to Mexico, nobody else, not this country." Okay, so as you can see, and I see like brain Republicans being like, well, if they're protesting so hard, why are they so worried about getting sent back to Mexico? Because it's not about being sent back to Mexico. As far as they're concerned, they rightfully own this land, and if they can occupy it and resist you, then who's to say that they don't? If you can't take this back from them, and honestly, right, anyone who does this, anyone who says that should be grounds for deportation. People are like, oh, they might be a naturalized American citizen, so denaturalize them. It can be done at the stroke of a pen. It can be undone at the stroke of a pen, and then ICE can deport them. Like, this is not people coming for the American dream to integrate. This is reverse colonization.
It is. It is reverse colonization. I've been telling you guys that for the past year. And this is not about race. It's not about the color of your skin. It's about what country you are allegiant to. If you say, I'm Mexican American, then you're a Mexican. You are not an American. And I do believe that we need to take that stroke of the pen, maybe take Biden's auto pen, and start removing a whole lot of Mexicans off the American citizenship roll. How do I feel about dual citizenship? Shouldn't be a thing. My daughter currently lives in New Zealand, my oldest child. She married a young man from New Zealand. She is on a work visa. Soon she will apply for citizenship. I told her, give up your citizenship to America then, because baby, you're not American anymore. You married a guy from New Zealand. You live and work in New Zealand. Be freaking New Zealand. You are not American anymore. You can't. A house divided cannot stand. That's a problem in America. You want to be African and then American. You want to be Jewish and then American. You want to be Muslim and then American. You want to be a Native American and then an American. Now you want to be Mexican and then American. Get out of my country. Be American or leave. Mexico doesn't just owe us money. Mexico owes us water, Miss Debbie. Do y'all know how many Texas farmers lost their farms in 2024 because drooling, brain-dead Joe Biden and his administration would not force Mexico to give up the water that they owed the sugarcane farmers? No, she should not keep her American citizenship. If you're going to marry someone from another country in their country, work in their country, pay taxes in their country, and intend to live there the rest of your life, give up your citizenship to America and vice versa. Hey, Miss Suzanne. And I'm talking about my own daughter. So if I'm that hard line on her, y'all got to know how I feel about second generation Mexican Americans. I mean, I talk African Americans. What are y'all doing? What are you, like 15th generation African Americans still claiming that crap? come the heck on. Like, you're American. You know, and this is the problem. They've made it a race war, but it's not. Not for white people. Not for people, not for Americans that have been here for generations. We just want to see everyone prosper at the same level fairly. Listen to this guy.
Enough of this whole life. I really had enough of this whole life. So I'm going to just go ahead and say it. Fuck every white man, woman, and child alive on this planet. All of you motherfuckers need to die. All of you do. We need to go for a global, recessive genetic purge by any means necessary. Every last one of you white man, woman, and child on this planet need to die.
Every last one of you white man, woman, and child needs to DIE.
And there are quite a few people in this country that feel that way. I did a video about the Filipino mafia in nursing. It's also in the Navy, but I was specifically talking about nursing. And the black nurses come on and they're like, oh my gosh, they're so horrible. They're so terrible to black nurses. And I said, well, how do you think white nurses feel when they got to deal with black nurses and Filipino nurses? Like, we're never allowed to say, stop it. Are you going to run into people that don't like you because you're a certain color? Probably. But the only people in America that are forbidden from certain grants, are forbidden from certain scholarships, are forbidden from certain schools are white people. Make that make sense. So yeah, America does have a racism problem. It's an anti-white one. Then let me show you what they were doing all stinking night in Los Angeles. You know, these peaceful protests.
Dumpster, some kind of container that they were successful in being able to set ablaze. We should also point out that we watched as 5 Waymo cars. Whoa. Okay, so now we're doing donuts
in reverse
in the intersection,
and someone throwing rocks. Okay, what's going on there? That looks very strange. Somebody, I don't know what to make of this. This seems so very dangerous. Obviously, these people throwing the rocks are not happy with that person there. I don't know if they felt this person was endangering them. This is a very bizarre scene there, and why that person would do those donuts like that in reverse. Was that person trying to send a statement? And oh wow,
yeah, what's going on?
Now that's Fox News, and they framed this as if the person in the minivan is the bad guy. The rioters were just upset because this guy almost hit a person on the bike, and it totally wasn't the rioters' fault. That's Fox News. That's Fox News. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. It's so bad right now. It is so bad right now. Someone just put in comments, it's been 33 years since the LA riots, Freemasons' favorite number. Amen to that. Let me show you guys what's actually going on here. By the way, if you'd like to support our channel, we were demonetized, which means that YouTube won't pay us a penny. For 3 months, they've not paid us a penny. Not 1 penny. I'll drop Cash App in comments If you'd like to send a few dollars, buy the dogs a treat, a pound of raw meat, please do. Here's Venmo. Because without you guys, I can't keep doing this. And I'm good at it. I know I'm good at it. Think of it like when you go out to eat and you tip your waitress, you don't tell them to go get a new job because, the restaurant doesn't pay them enough. You just tip them because they did a good job while I'm feeding you. Think of it that way. Watch this.
The only way that any of us can stop ICE is by stealing a pair of Adidas sneakers. Because once we all look really cool, those ICE agents are going to be like, yo, I can't deport this guy. Look at those cool sneakers. And that's why at the riots last night, these leftist activists and rioters were smashing windows of shoe stores and phone stores and stealing things. That's the only way to make a difference, I guess. No, it just shows in reality the hypocrisy that these people are not actually protesting anything other than they go out and smash and destroy when given the opportunity because, let's be real, they're a chaotic and destructive force. Their ideologies make no sense. They hate this country. They want it to burn. And their politicians agree. Right now, my friends, the Marines are not only being deployed to Los Angeles, but reports are that they will be sent out onto the streets. Now, they are not going to be engaging in any kind of law enforcement activity, which is how you get around posse comitatus, which prevents the military from enforcing local law. The Marines will be defending federal law enforcement agents who are carrying out the law. So U.S. military is allowed to be dispatched if they are protecting federal agents who are operating illegally. If you want the military to actively engage in arrests and law enforcement, you'd have to invoke the Insurrection Act, which Trump has not done. But the escalation is upon us, my friends, and we have this mass looting breaking out, of course. Many videos. Andy No says the Utoro Little Tokyo sushi shop looted by rioters in LA. They broke in and carried a cash box. Here's the video.
What happened? Hey, get up, bro. Get up.
You don't do that shit, homie.
Hey, nah, they looting.
Yep, hey. Too bad.
Get up.
You don't do that shit. Wow.
And it's Mexican kids. Look at their faces.
Yeah, they're looting it. Wow. Too late.
Making us look bad.
Yep.
Damn.
And when he turned around and said, we got a problem, he had a weapon. They're like, no, we ain't got a problem.
Yes, chaotic, disorganized, violence.
And then watch what they did when they ran. I'm sorry. I know that Antifa is white liberal lunatics, but I want you to notice and get mad at me. Notice the color of these people looting.
But breaking in and stealing a cash register, that's a bridge too far. Check us out. Apple store in downtown LA being robbed tonight. You see no ice on the window. Nice. Let's start over. Look at that.
It's all black. It's all brown.
Gotta get in. Look how excited everybody is to run in and raid the Apple store. Look at that, dude. There you go. Shout out BG on the scene. But come on, guys, don't.
And I mean, everybody's wearing sweatshirts in California in June. Really? Nikki says she's starting to question everything they taught her about slavery. Well, what they told you was a lie. One of the biggest slave owners in America was a black man. There were more Irish slaves in America than there were African-American slaves. A lot of the black people that are currently in America never had any family in slavery. They were imported over the next 150 years from places like Jamaica in Africa, and then they were just told, well, you were black, so obviously you were a slave. I mean, that's the truth. No, they're going to stay on the plantation. Now, a lot of black people are waking up, and I've got good, y'all know, I've got good friends that are black. I tell you that all the time. Like, my best friend's black. My best friend that died was black. I've got black in me. So I feel like if somebody's going to be able to talk about it, it's going to be me. It's going to be me. And then there was the incident where they tried to frame it on X like, watch, this guy was trying to set everything on fire. Watch.
Deportation, and half the people who are out there smashing things up, doing whatever it is they're doing, they're waiting for an opportunity to exploit. We also have this video. Take a look at this. Not sure the LAPD knew they were being watched here. What's this? There's a man on the ground. What's happening? There's a man on the ground. Look at, oh no, man on the ground. What's happening? All right, what do we got here? So their fireworks are exploding all around him. This horse jumps around the guy. The cop cracks the stick on the ground. The guy is moving back, trying to get up. And let's see what else happens. And then the cop grabs him as he tries to run away and pulls him back down. And he gets arrested. So first and foremost, they're trying to make it seem like the horse trampled the guy. Didn't. They're trying to make it seem like the cop cracked the guy on the ground with a bowcan. That's the swords they use. They didn't. But either way, you may be saying, yeah, but come on, man. Like, what you know, they're intimidating this guy. Like, what did this guy do? You know, he's just there on the ground. I mean, it's not like he tried to set fire to a building with gasoline and got caught. Okay. I don't know exactly, but it does appear that there was a guy with gasoline and he was pouring on the ground and they got him. They grabbed him. Fireworks are exploding. They're launching explosives.
Somebody asked.
And then they arrested him. That's what the mounted.
Somebody just asked me, do you have the super chat? I do not. YouTube demonetized me. So there's no way you can donate to me unless you send directly to my address, to PayPal, to Venmo, to Cash App. So again, real quick, this is Cash App. That's Cash App, folks. This one's Venmo. Hi, sweetheart. I'm hopping off. That's Venmo. At the end of this live, I'll go into the description and into comments, and I will leave the ways that you can just hit the link and go directly and donate to us. And we do really need you guys to row in our boat. It's been 3 months. Send $1. Send 100. Heck, send 1,000. Anyway, I'm just joking with you guys. I love y'all so much. Now that you know more of what's actually going on in this country, you know to be prepared. The media is going to lie to you. They're going to propagate that we've already started the civil war. What can you do from your home? Call your congressman. We demand that either they say it's an act of war against Mexico or they go ahead and say it's the Insurrection Act, because you've got protests popping off across this country. I did a video for you last night. This is not a joke. This is not a test. This is a revolution for a regime change. And the regime change that they want for you is a socialist communist change where you are controlled by Mexico and the cartel. So be blessed. My husband's home. It's time for me to go do what my actual job is. You're so bad. On delay, he said. I got to go take care of my baby because he comes first. Love you guys so much. Be blessed. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Oh,